Take your trashy $500 severance and get out of my hotel. The new owner, Derek Sterling, sneered, throwing an envelope of cash onto the lobby floor. Surrounding him were security guards and high society guests, watching in silence as 70-year-old Thomas, the hotel's head concierge for 40 years, calmly knelt to pick up his fallen brass name tag. Derek kicked the envelope closer to Thomas's shoes. "You're an old, washed-up relic, Thomas. My father built this luxury empire, and now that he's gone, I'm cleaning house, starting with you." Thomas slowly stood up, placing the brass tag into his coat pocket. His face showed no anger, no panic, only a quiet and said just 5 words. He looked Derek straight in the eye, looking around at the crowd. Derek burst into loud inheritance. "Barrack father left me 80% of the company shared. Paragraph 3? My panaft and this entire skyscraper. What could paragraph 3 possibly say? You old fool." To understand what happened next, you have to go back 30 years. When Derek's father, Richard Sterling, was just starting out, he was penniless and deeply in debt. One rainy night, after losing his last dollar, Richard stood on the edge of a bridge, ready to give up on life. It was Thomas, a former combat, medic-turned-night shift janitor, who pulled him back from the edge. Thomas gave Richard his entire life savings of $10,000 to start his real estate business. But Thomas made Richard promise one thing: never use this money to hurt people, and never let greed ruin your soul. As the company grew into a multi-billion-dollar empire, Richard made Thomas the head concierge, treating him as his closest confidant. But Richard's son, Derek, grew up spoiled, cruel, and obsessed with status. When Richard passed away last month, Derek immediately took over, determined to erase every trace of the old staff, who knew where the company really came from. Back in the lobby, Derek's lawyer stepped forward, holding the heavy leather binder containing Richard's final testament. "Open it, Marcus," Derek demanded, crossing his arms. "Read paragraph 3 out loud, so this old man understands he owns nothing." The lawyer flipped through the parchment pages. As his eyes landed on paragraph 3, his face turned completely pale. His hands began to shake uncontrollably. "Well, read it," Derek shouted. The lawyer cleared his throat, his voice trembling over the microphone system. "In the event that my son, Derek Sterling, fires or mistreats any founding member of this staff without cause, 80% of the voting shares shall immediately revert to the original benefactor who funded the company's inception, Thomas Miller." The entire lobby gasped. Derek's smile vanished instantly. "What? That's a lie." "My father would never do that." "There's a second clause," the lawyer stammered, stepping back. "If Derek exhibits dishonorable conduct, Thomas Miller is granted full authority to immediately remove him from the board of directors." Before Derek could speak, 2 senior corporate attorneys and 2 uniformed police officers walked through the revolving glass doors. They handed Derek a formal notice of termination and an eviction order for the executive penthouse. Derek fell to his knees on the marble floor, staring up at the man he had just tried to humiliate. "Thomas, please, my father loved you like a brother. You can't do this to me." Thomas picked up the envelope containing the $500 from the floor and placed it back into Derek's trembling hands. "Your father built this place on honor and respect, Derek," Thomas said softly. "You thought you were throwing away a servant, but you were throwing away the only thing keeping you in power." Within 48 hours, Thomas was voted chairman of the board. He immediately restored the pension funds for all retired employees and established a charity foundation in Richard's name. True leadership is not about how many people you can look down on, but how many people you choose to lift up. If this story reminded you that kindness and humility always prevail, please like, share, and subscribe to Bright Heart Stories. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments below. We love reading your heartwarming messages.